მოგესალმებით მეგობრებო, ესე იგი შევადგენთ ახალ ბრაულერს, ანუ ახალი ბრაულერი არის აი ეს გოგო და ძალიან მაგარი ბრაულ-თაკი გველოდება წინ. ესე იგი რამდენი ხანში მთავრდება ბრაულ ფასი არ ვიცი, მაგრამ ეს იქნება ახალი ბრაულერი, ქრომატიკი ბრაულერი, ახალი ბრაულ-თაკის. აი ეს გოგო ზუსტად და მარველიდან არისო და ეს და ვიდეოს გაჩვენებთ ახლავე. ეცადეთ, სად იყო? გადავიდეთ. მე ბოლომდე ვუყურე და მოდი თავიდან დავაწყებინოთ და ვუყუროთ და. გადავახვიოთ ცოტა.
Ever necessary. So what Marvel will essentially do here is experiment with characters, then they will study the fans' reactions and then bring them over to live-action movies. This way you'll already know what the fans want and let it dictate the future of the MCU. This is just brilliant. Now, having said that, let's begin a breakdown of What If Episode 1. But first, let me thank today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. What I really like about Raid is all the diverse champions in the game, and boy did they deliver a really cool new character this month, Ninja. Yes, the Ninja has been turned into a brand new legendary champion. Ninja's life was spared by Shadowkin raiders after they laid waste to his family's manor. He would soon become one of the Shadowkin's greatest weapons against the minions of Sephiroth, after being raised and taught the arts of the Shadow and War by the Shadowkins. Now in-game, Ninja will being introduced to Dr. Erskine for the first time. Now just like in the movie, a Hydra agent infiltrates and this entire facility is ambushed. Colonel Phillips gets killed and Agent Flynn immediately takes over, becoming Colonel Flynn. Steve Rogers also gets shot but survives, and Howard Stark is more worried about the Super Soldier program, where the machine is losing its power and they must carry out the procedure now or never. So Colonel Flynn commands Steve to get up and get inside the machine, but Steve is badly injured. He then suggests Howard Stark to get under the machine, but Howard says, "What? Are you crazy? I push the buttons. I'm the buttons guy." So seeing no other options, Peggy Carter decides to put herself forward and gets the Super Soldier serum injected into her body. We get the same camera angles and visuals just like we've seen in the first Avengers. Even the reactions of both Steve and Peggy are similar. What I love about this is that Marvel used a different background for the scenes in the trailer to avoid spoiling it. It's fascinating to me that Marvel would go this extra mile to protect plot lines, no matter whether it's a live-action trailer or an animated one. Now I cannot ignore just how good the animations are in this series. Notice before becoming a super soldier, Peggy didn't have these chest lines in her body, but after going through the procedure with her increased muscle, they made sure to add these lines on her chest to make her muscle more visible. They didn't animate her body like Hulk. They still kept all the human aesthetics, and Peggy looks amazing as she always did. Now Peggy is constantly being humiliated by Colonel Flynn for taking the serum herself. Like a real super soldier. You have. In the 1940s, just goes to show how Howard was so much ahead of his time.
აი ამ ადგილას სადღაც თქვა რომ ისაო თავის სუპერიო ისრის აი ამ რაღაც ფრინავსო რა თავის სუპერიო და ორ კაცს არტყამსო და ისე მუბრუნდებაო და თავის და მუშტებს ისრისო super's garage.
We then get a montage of Peggy fighting her way into multiple Hydra facilities. At one point, we see Peggy utilizing Steve's flight ability. Notice Howard Stark actually put a handle on the back of the suit so that Peggy has something to hold on to. So Howard literally made it easy for Peggy to ride Steve. Steve and Peggy then share a drink, and Peggy says,
"I miss a good whiskey. But the serum doesn't allow me to feel the effects."
Which again fits perfectly with the first Avengers, where Steve went through the same thing. Now Steve in this timeline gets a life lesson from Peggy here. He thinks he's still a skinny kid from Brooklyn. The only difference now is he has a suit, but Peggy makes him realize the suit itself doesn't do anything. It's the one controlling it. So if a suit is nothing without the suit, then maybe it's just oh my fucking lord. Cut to the train sequence where Bucky almost falls off, but Peggy saves him. "You almost ripped my arm off!" This of course is a reference to the original timeline where he loses his arm, like multiple times. Steve then dies, or so we are made to believe, because this whole train thing was staged by Red Skull. Now back in the compound, Howard argues with Colonel Flynn and says his Hydra Stomper suit is indestructible. Peggy then interrogates Arnim Zola and finds everything she has to know. She then points to Castle Craig in the map, which according to some of you lads is a reference to the sea monster Kraken. We then get a one-shot scene where Peggy punches her way through Red Skull's fortress and lets everyone else in. Notice how Peggy was blocking bullets on point-blank range while preparing to kick the shit out of this guy. Red Skull, on the other hand, is preparing to open a portal using the Tesseract. Now, in the next scene, we get a nod to Avengers 1, where Tony Stark and Steve Rogers had this conversation.
We need a plan of attack. I have a plan. Attack.
But in this timeline, their roles are pretty much reversed.
Should we not have a plan? Who needs a
I'm
plan?
going
I have a shield.
The shield is not a plan.
This giant creature starts coming out of this portal, and the first thing it
ორი
crushes
ახალი
is Red Skull
ბროულერი
himself.
გამოდის
Bucky
რა
and the team
ეს
find Steve
გოგო და
Rogers.
ეგ ბიჭი რა იმიტომ რომ ყოველ ორ თვეში გამოდის ორი ბროულერი და ორი თვე ხო გავიდა უკვე და ის ბიჭი და ეს გოგო ყველაზე ხართ იმენა შეიძლება იმ ბიჭს ეჩვასება და ეს მეორე გოგოს აი ის პოლიციის არ ვიცი ზუსტად ვინ იქნება და ვინ არის მაგრამ ეგ ვიცი რომ ახალი ბროულერია ეს ჩემი მინი აკაუნტია აი ეს კი მაქმერა
I do not come in peace.
აი დღეს ვაიმედე დღეისთვის ლესყავთ და ლაიქით გამოიწევთ ახლა გაგდევს ლაიქი და აბა კარგად ვაიმედე და